It's great to have you here, my friend. Let's learn more about CustomerSource. Take it away.
Well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. First of all, because I'm sure everyone on this call is going to have a different levels of experience with CustomerSource. I do start out with a PowerPoint deck just to set the stage. After that, I promise I will get away from PowerPoint and we'll do a demo with the production site that's running today. But so first of all, just for those of you that aren't familiar with CustomerSource, what CustomerSource is, it is a site that we specifically designed and developed for our existing customer base to get answers to their questions, to error messages that may come up, to access training materials, get access to downloads such as service pad hotfixes, regulatory updates, and so on. And it is specifically for Dynamics products. So moving ahead, well, Kim already introduced me, so we'll go to the agenda slide. The agenda slide, during today's conversation, I'm going to be going through and giving an overview of CustomerSource. Then I'll be going through and doing a demo, showing you some different design layouts, just so that you get an idea of why we designed it certain ways, as well as some tips and tricks of the administrative tools. Like commonly I get asked questions, well, how do you add more users and so on? I'll go through that. How do you access learning materials, as well as, if you decide to leave site feedback, if there's things you don't like about it, I'll point out where you can do that. And then, assuming we have more time, I'll lead into the Dynamics community, which can be accessed either through CustomerSource or you can go directly through it by its own URL. And we'll then wrap with the Q&A at the end. So what is CustomerSource? I earlier on a few slides earlier, I highlighted already. It's a site specifically set up for our customers that are using Dynamics products. And here's where you can get your training information. You can get support information, or you can access online support tools. You can access the community to get to the forums, the blogs that we host. You can download actual code for your product as well from CustomerSource. And it's also, over the years, we have, I've become a realist and realized that although I like to have all of Microsoft resources on one site, one location, I realize that that's not possible. So what we have done over the years is enhance the search where we crawl additional sites that are Microsoft owned, such as MSDN and TechNet, so that you can go to one spot within CustomerSource, do a search, and it will pull in all, from many different resources that Microsoft owns. Now you say, well, what's different between that and using Bing or Google? Well, it basically, by using the search through CustomerSource, it limits to Dynamics related sites versus whatever's out there in the world. So the so for those of you that have been CustomerSource a long time ago, you probably knew that you had to have a login. Well, back in, I think it was 2013 or so, we flipped it over so that we have unsecured content or publicly facing content as well as secured content. So if you don't have a login to CustomerSource, you still can go out to www.customersource.com and you can access the information that we see in the very left corner. So you'll see there's news, there's event information, fact sheets, presentations, how-to documentation, and so on. Then on the right-hand side, though, if you are a member of CustomerSource, and by the way, how you become a member of CustomerSource is by having an active service contract with Microsoft Dynamics. If you have an active service contract, you will automatically get access. And since we're on this topic, I'll jump on this a little bit further. Many times I've gotten questions in the past is, okay, I'm a company on an active service contract and our administrative access. Can anybody else in the company have access? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. And there's no limits that we set. As long as they're part of your organization, we will allow you to add as many or as few users as you want. So if you have 5 users in your company, you want all of them to have access to CustomerSource, you can give them access. Or if you have 5,000 users, you can give them access. It all depends on your company and what you want. So with that said, once you do have an account within CustomerSource, you will be able then to get access to deeper materials such as the product downloads, the training materials, regulatory updates, and so on. So, by the way, too, the method that we use to manage our authentication and authorization within CustomerSource is through two different types of accounts. One's through a Microsoft account, which traditionally was called Passport, anyway, that allows you. So if you think of the type of accounts such as a Microsoft account, that will be like a Hotmail account, an MSN account, an Outlook account. So those type of accounts. So if you already have one of those, you don't even have to go and create a new one. You can just use your existing one that you've set up. Also, we use the organizational ID. So a lot of times you see these in larger organizations, universities, and so on. And so that's the second method of accessing customer sources through one of those two. As I get into the demo, I'll point out how you can add additional users and talk a little bit more about it in detail, as well as point you to training materials or help materials that are on the site that can show you how to add additional users as well. So the customer source, technically, if you break it up into the lowest denomination, it actually consists of 9 different sites. So there's really 9 unique customer sources, and they're in 5 different languages. The sites that are available today are listed on the screen. There are 9 of them. So for those of you, let's say for instance, if you have employees that are in Russia, well, you can see we don't have a Russian site. So typically what we have done in the past is we move the Russian content to the global site. So that's the site that you would select. When you do log into CustomerSource, it will actually look at your what domain you're coming from or where it's located, and it will automatically set it to it. So in this case, if you log into a customer source from the United States, it will automatically send you to the United States site or the North American site. If you are in Germany, it will route you to the German site. The languages that we have are listed on the screen, which are Danish, English, French, German, and Spanish. And in some of the areas too, like knowledge base, there may be some additional languages available too that aren't here, as well as if you dig into CustomerSource, you'll find some documentation showing up in Chinese and so on, because we do have those stored in the global site. But the primary 5 languages that we build out for navigation anyway are the ones listed on the screen. Now again, you may not care much about this, having multiple sites in multiple regions of the world. Unless you're a multinational company, then it does make a difference. And the nice thing about it is, as each user is set up, they can configure theirs to be for whatever region they want it to be pointing to. So it's not like everybody in one organization has to be pointed to, let's say, the French site. So a couple things that I'll be going through, and I just want to take a screenshot of it before I demo it. The screen that you see right now is showing primarily the search window for CustomerSource. So if you go in and do a search for CustomerSource, this is the results window back. And what I'm highlighting here is a knowledge base, and I'll talk about it in just a little in more detail, a little bit more. But in order to find knowledge-based articles, you use a standard search window that's in CustomerSource. But then you can see across the top, right underneath the word reporting, you'll see there's different filters. So you can filter it by core CustomerSource content. You can filter by content that's coming from the Dynamics community, and so on. Well, in this case, if we wanted to filter the content that's purely coming from knowledge base, we could click on the top navigation where it says knowledge base and filter it. Or underneath sites, you can also click on knowledge base. Both of them do the same thing. It's just 2 different locations. We found out through the first design where we only had it underneath where the word reporting is. Many people didn't even notice them, so we've also moved a copy of it to the left-hand side to make it more visible as well. So we'll move into the next slide. I talked about that the CustomerSource has access to training. Well, not only does it have access to Dynamics training, but we open up all Dynamics training and technically all Dynamics materials to everybody who has access to CustomerSource. So for instance, let's say you're a AX customer, and you've been a long-time AX customer, and now you're thinking, well, maybe we should be adding Dynamics CRM to our company? Well, before you even buy it, as long as you have access to CustomerSource, you can come out and take all the training that's available for CRM. You can learn all about it. You can even get to the product downloads if you'd want to view it. And we do this because we want to provide as much information to you to help you become more informed about Dynamics products and to get more out of them. So that's one reason why you'll notice once you're out here you'll have access to all the different product lines and all the different materials. But within the training then, you'll see that we have a different, we have different stages you can go through. So within training, we have learning plans that we provide, because you'll notice that, for instance, when you get into some of the products, there's many, many courses. And sometimes it's somewhat confusing as what you should do, when, where, why. So we provide learning plans to help you and say, well, if you're into payables, these are the courses we recommend that you would take for that particular role. And then you can, as a customer, you can get Microsoft certifications as well. Now the certifications are, in order to take the actual exam, it goes to an authorized testing center, so there is an additional cost to do that. But there's multiple levels of certification you can get within Dynamics as well. And some customers say, well, why do I want to do that? And say, well, one is by getting the certification shows that you understand the product better and you probably can get more use out of it, more value out of it. But secondly, sometimes it doesn't look bad on a resume either. The other areas that we have within our training area, we have print materials, which we call the training downloads, and those usually are typically in a PDF format, but you can definitely print them out. You can highlight them, scribble them up, do whatever you want. And then we have the next step, which is the e-learning materials. And if you put that in common terms, remove the branding from it, it's really interactive training materials. It's online interactive training, which we make available for our customers as well. And then finally, we do have a catalog out on the site that you can find instructor-led training. You may be asking, well, why do you offer all these different flavors of training? Well, we do it because we understand that people learn in different ways. Some people rather just grab it and read it and do it. Others would rather have somewhat interactive but be able to do it on their own. And some would rather follow instructor training. So, but we do, and I talked about certifications already, we do, finally get to that point of where it can get you certified. So with that, moving out of the training area, I want to just give you a quick highlight of available training. You'll notice that on the darker gold boxes, it's focused on training materials, which is the downloadable training courses, the print form. And then on the lower down, the lighter gold boxes, you'll see it talks about our e-learning. Again, that's our online interactive training courses that we have. Now, for those of you over the years, you may look at the numbers and say, oh, it looks like some decrease and so on. And in some areas, the number of courses have decreased over time, but also how they categorize them. Before, they used to break them out into many different chunks and pieces and call it more courses. Now they have consolidated a lot of the courses into one. So that's why sometimes you see the numbers smaller as well. So at this point, as I promised, I wouldn't kill you with PowerPoint throughout the whole demo, so I'm going to bring up the site and wait just a moment and make sure it renders for everybody. So now I clicked on, well, what I did is I went out to CustomerSource.com, and it brought me to the North American site of CustomerSource. In here, you'll find many different things, and before I start diving deeper, I do want to point out a few things. If you look up over in the upper right corner, it says Welcome User. What that means is currently I am not logged in. So as I mentioned earlier to you, I can come out to the site, don't have to be a user or a signed user. I can view a lot of different content out here. But if I want to dive deeper and get to all content, I do have to log in. So with that said, if I click the drop-down menu, you'll see it comes up with a few different things. Help, contact us, and sign in. Well, before I sign in, I do want to show you the help area. So if I click on help, it will give me access to a lot of different materials. So one of the common areas comes up is I need access to CustomerSource. Well, we created an area that provides you with information on how to get access to CustomerSource, as well as way over the third block over, you'll see, to give CustomerSource access to fellow employees. We have steps on how to do that. Further down on the screen, you'll see there's a link that says CustomerSource Help Videos. We created a few help videos that are at a high level to show our customers how to do different tasks. So I strongly encourage, if after this training, I'm sure you won't retain everything, so come out to the help menu. So go to CustomerSource.com, click on help. You don't even need to log in, and you can get access to the information of how to set up users, as well as learn more about what CustomerSource is about. Now, I'm not going to quite log in yet because I do want to show you a few more things on the screen. So I'm going to go back to the home page of CustomerSource, and you'll notice that on the left-hand side, it lists out the different products for Microsoft Dynamics, as well as at the top there's a navigation. So they both pretty much do the same thing. The top navigation allows me to even go to a version landing page if I like, or I can just go to the product itself. So in this case, I'm going to navigate to GP, and I'm not going to go to a version landing page, which is which currently we have 2010, 2013, or 2015. I'm going to just go to the product family of GP. So I click on that. You'll see that when it brings me to Dynamics GP. Now this is only Dynamics GP content that will be found here. If I wanted to switch over to a different product, I could just hover over the products drop-down and choose a different product from here. Now, why I bring this up is many of you may be GP users today, and you really don't care about Dynamics AX or CRM or NAV. I understand why, because you don't own the product. So this way you can filter your content ahead of time without having to do anything more. So now at this point, if I do a search, you can see that once I click in the search box, it gives me the option of, do I just want to search Dynamics GP, or do I want to search all of CustomerSource? So at this point, if I don't put anything in there, if I don't select anything, it will assume the top one. So if I go ahead now and type, let's say, reporting, you'll see when the search results come back, automatically on the left-hand side, the search filters will be set to GP. So you'll see right over here, it's set product to GP, it's filtered GP. Now if I want to expand that, if I click on it, you'll notice in a moment that it allows me to filter by version as well as other products and so on. So if I click on GP again, it will allow me to check the version. Also, maybe I want, let's say 2015 I'm looking for stuff for, and I'm looking for e-learning results. I could click on here and it will allow me to filter it down further and so on. So it allows me to do a lot of filtering. And actually, Paul, this is a good example. So a lot of times I get questions from people who have used CustomerSource before we moved to the new platform in 2013, saying, well, how is it better to put a very specific term in, or is it better to use a more general term and then just whittle my results down? It's really up to you. I mean, it works both. It works either way. The search engine is really accurate on here. A lot of times, my best recommendation though is try to, let's say if you have a error message or a specific term you're searching for, I do recommend doing something more specific than general. But if you do use something general, you can see you can bring the results down pretty quickly. Now let's say if I accidentally selected GP and I didn't want GP, I can click on the little X here and it will clear the filter as well so that it resets it. So now maybe I wanted Dynamics AX instead. So I could click on AX and now filters my results by AX. I could choose 2012 and it brings the results down, keeps bringing it down. So now maybe I'm looking for learning materials. I could click on that. It brings the subset down. I think we started somewhere over 2,000 documents. Now we brought it down to 85 documents. And from there, I can even actually bring it down further. So let's say I was looking for student training materials. Well, now I brought it down. So as you can see, in this case, I use a very broad term of reporting, but I was able to take, the many results from over 2,000 down to 7 quite quickly. Now, the other thing I want to point out on this page while I'm on this page is you'll see the icon, the lock icon in the front of the words. Whenever you see a lock icon, it means that the materials are, well, it means you need to have a CustomerSource account in order to access it. So if I click on it, well, we can, first of all, we can read the title, we can read the abstract, but when I click on it, you'll see in a moment it comes up and says, hey, you need to log in. So I'm going to click on the word CustomerSource, and it will allow me to log into the site. And since I've logged into the site before, it knows what my credentials are, and it's automatically bringing me in. If it doesn't know who you are, it will come up and ask you for your Microsoft account or your org ID to log in. But now at this point, you can see it brought me back to the results of the training course, and I can access the download. I can download it as a 5 meg file, or I can go further down and read about the materials. Also, things that we built out on the right-hand side, you'll see that we have a troubleshooting guide. We also have forms. So later in this conversation, I plan on jumping over to the Microsoft Dynamics community to point out at a high level about what's out there. But if I wanted to post a form question today, I could click on this, and it would automatically take me over to the Microsoft Dynamics community. And assuming that I created the same Windows, the same account in community as I did CustomerSource, it would take me over seamlessly. And what I mean by that is, I mentioned earlier, you can either use an org ID or a Microsoft account. Well, if you set up a Microsoft account within CustomerSource, and you set up the same Microsoft account in the Dynamic community, they'll take you over there seamlessly without having to log in. If they're different, you still can do it. You just need to log in at the point to post a form question. You don't have to log in to read form questions, but to ask a question or answer a question, you do have to log in Dynamics community. So other things too is if you're, and Microsoft Dynamics AX happens to be, but if you're your product line, which in this case AX is part of Lifecycle Services, you can go to Lifecycle Services directly, and then you can also open a support incident as well off this navigation after searching for it. So there's a lot of different things that are happening on each page. Oh, the other thing I mentioned too is that you can provide page feedback. So you see the little blue tab on the right-hand side that says feedback. If there's something about this particular page that's inaccurate, you don't like, you like, whatever, you can click on the feedback form. It will actually capture the page that you're on for us, and then in there you can send us feedback. And I have a team of producers that go through those feedback daily to review them. And if you leave your email address and you need follow-up, they'll follow up with you. Otherwise, they will just act upon it and take care of it. But anyway, that's another tidbit of information there. So back to search. Well, I am going to go back to the home page first. I'm going to navigate out of this. So bear with me as it flips. So back to the search screen, I mentioned that if we choose a product and then we go to search, it will filter the search results by the product that we selected. Well, it even does more contextual searching as well. So let's say now I went to Dynamics GP. I select the product at GP. I then, let's say I want to get a download. So I click on downloads, and it brings me to the download section. Now if I go to search, you'll see that it allows me to, if I want to search all of CustomerSource, I could choose the bottom one. If I wanted to search all of GP, I could choose that one. Or if I just wanted to choose downloads or search the downloads area, it would do that as well. So it allows a lot of different things. So I'm going to choose, oh, and if I don't choose anything, it will automatically filter it by GP and downloads. So in this case, I'm not going to choose any of the lower things underneath the search box. I'm just going to type in, let's say, reporting again. Oops, yeah, I spelled that right. And when it brings back the results, you'll see that the results will be, oh, in this case, there's nothing that's underneath downloads and GP that has the term reporting in there. But let's try the word tax once just to see what happens here. And you see once I changed to tax and then brought back results for that. But unfortunately, it did reset my filters so that it cleared out. It didn't select a particular product line or anything. In this case, it reset the filters at this time. So in this case, I could easily filter down by GP, and I could easily filter down by downloads, and it brings the search results there. Again, remember, in order to clear a filter, let's say I didn't want to sort it by downloads, I could click on the little X right behind it, and it actually clears the filter and allows me to choose something different than at that point in time. So the other thing I want to point out, you'll see that also too I'm logged in. It knows who I am. It says Arlin Fisher. So with that, I'm going to hop back to the product of GP again, and I'm going to move to the training materials. So I mentioned earlier there's different types of training available for Dynamics customers. We have within CustomerSource, included within the cost of your service contract, you'll get access to all of our downloadable training material. You'll get access to our interactive training, which is known as e-learning, and then you get access to a catalog for online or for in-classroom training. Now that is an additional cost, but we do have access to a catalog so you can review it more. So now if I wanted to view the training materials or get to it, I can come to the top navigation where it says Learning, and I click on it, or on the left-hand side you'll see Learning as well. Either one does the same thing. So if I click Go to the Learning homepage, it'll take me to a homepage that's specific to learning. And you'll see everything that's on here is specific to that. So if I go in to look on the left-hand navigation, you'll see we have student training materials. Those are the downloadable training courses. So if I click on student training materials, it will then bring me to a catalog page in which I can filter further. So in this case, GP only has it in the English language. So if it was in multiple languages, we'd see multiple languages listed here which we could filter upon, as well as the GP. And notice once we click on GP, we can then filter by version as well. So maybe we're interested, let's say, in 2013. So I click on 2013, you'll see filter the results by 2013. And it just happens to be that we're interested in viewing fixed assets today, which is at the top. So I click on the fixed assets, and you'll see that it brings me back to a page that looks very similar to when we were in search. So at this point, it again talks about who's the audience for it, who are the, what other materials are available and so on, and then I can download the courseware. Another thing that I did find out, and this is not a system problem, it's, I guess sometimes a personnel issue, where sometimes a course will get posted on the global site, but not on North America. So what I recommend is if you're not finding all the courses, or if you think that not everything's there, what I recommend you do is scroll down to the bottom, and at the very bottom there's what we call the locale switcher. So currently we're on North America, so if I click on that, it brings a pop-up here, and here's where I can switch to a different region. So I click on that, and I click on global, and it pops me over to the global site. And here I can also do some additional searching for information. So what I do recommend to our customers, although we do try to publish all appropriate content on all the sites, it doesn't always happen. And global is one of the first ones that get populated. So global usually has the most amount of content out there. So it's good if you're ever looking for content to flip over to global every once in a while as well. So back to the situation, if I choose student training materials, I can navigate back to exactly what we did earlier. Only difference is this time I'm on the global site. And just to drive this point down even further, when you do a search at the top, it will only search the site that you're in. So in this case, global, when it says search CustomerSource, it means search CustomerSource Global. It doesn't mean search all 9 sites of CustomerSource. It is just searching one of the geographies. So keep that in mind, and that's why we scrolled all the way to the bottom and changed the locale switcher. Now, in this case, you can see that I can already tell that the amount of languages have changed. I mean, that I'm on a different site because I have more languages that are viewing, right, or are available. So if I wanted to get to the Spanish courses, I could also get to the Spanish courses that we have published out here. So that's how you get to the student training materials. Next thing I'm going to flip over is to the e-learning courses. So I'll click on the e-learning, and e-learning is actually housed in a slightly different system that's completely connected to CustomerSource, but you'll see that the navigation stuff changes a little bit around. Also, you'll notice that for your convenience, we open a second tab. So if you wanted to get back to CustomerSource, you could easily click on the first tab that we're on, and then if we want to get back to the e-learning, you can click on the second tab. Why we do that is so that you can easily navigate back and forth from either system. And so in this case, you'll notice that I am on the home page of e-learning, and my company is VentureWorks. The username is Arlin Fisher, which is up in the right-hand side here. Now, if I'm interested in looking for a course, I can view a course that has already been assigned to me. So underneath my courses, if I click on that button, you'll see 2 different courses that I have added. One of them is on AX1 that I am 2% complete, and how I know that is right above the play button. It shows 2%. The other one I haven't started yet, and that one's focused on installation configuration of Dynamics GP. Again, you will have access to all of this no matter what product line you own. But let's say, for instance, I don't have the course I'm looking for. I can actually click on the course catalog, and I can choose the product line that I'm interested in viewing. So we've been talking about GP a lot. We'll actually choose Dynamics AX this time. So once I choose Microsoft Dynamics AX, it brings me to some additional filters where I'm able to. So I can already see that I'm filtering by Microsoft Dynamics AX. I can now choose a version that I want to filter by. Let's say I want to view 2012, so I click on that. And it brings me down to a list of courses, roughly about 74 that are available at this point in time. And then if I want to keep on further, I can. I don't have to choose all the filters. I can choose some of them. So, if now there's only English here, but if I want to choose just English and skip the topic and level, I could. Or if you're looking for level by, the advanced level, it's just like college courses. You have your 100 classes, 200 classes, 300, and so on. As the number gets bigger, meaning it moves from 100 to 200 to 300, the courses are more advanced. So to play one or add one, like I did, is if you didn't want to take it now but you wanted to view it at a later time, you can click the Add button, and then it will add it to that left tile that I showed you earlier where it showed the 2 courses, the GP and the AX course that were added to my curriculum. That's where it puts them. Or you can actually play one from here also. Or you can actually learn more about the course before you do it. So I clicked on the 3 dots below the course right now. It brought me into an area that shows me a little bit more about the training course. Here we have the introduction that's expanded, but if you wanted to view the overview, it gives me the overview of what this targeted for, how long it is, and so on. The other thing is it shows me prerequisites. So if there were classes I needed to take before I took this one, it would list them out. And then finally the objectives. So we try to be as transparent as possible before you take the course so you know what's out there. Also, that was on the overview tab. You'll notice there's a syllabus tab, and in here it talks about what's specifically going to be talked about in this course. And you can expand the different items as well to see what's all in there. Or let's say, for instance, you took it and you went through labs 1 through 3. 4 wasn't relevant for you, but you want to go to 5, you can come here and just jump on 5 and start taking it. So the nice thing about these particular courses is that they're interactive. So it's just, you're just not reading it. They're showing you how to do different things on there, as well as you have someone talking to you, you have more visuals and so on. And then another thing you can do is if you were to take this course, and I'm jumping around on this, I would never take a course this way because then I could get the value out of it, but just for demo's sake, I am jumping around. You'll see that there's an area where you can challenge yourself. So sometimes there's tests that I'll give you. Sometimes in this case, this is actually going to have me do a process like I was in the product. So I'm technically not in AX, but it feels like I am. So in this case, this is create a purchase agreement for a contract. I honestly have no idea how to do this, but I can go ahead and click on, bear with me as it refreshes. Oh, it reset. I clicked allow, so bear with me as I go, and we'll just choose another course here that I have. Let's choose this particular one. And hopefully they have that tried as well. bringing me back in where I dropped off before, so it's loading it right now. Oh, it should be playing. It's done buffering. I will click on next, see what happens. Oh, I'm going to close this down. For some reason, this particular video is hanging on me right now. So anyway, though, here within this particular course, you can see the syllabus is expanded again. And no, I don't like this one. I like to show you. There is a course, actually, well, this is a good one too. I'll jump around here a little bit. But you'll notice that there's a course review in here too. So this one, instead of showing you how to do it within the product, it will allow you to review the course and ask you, you know, bring out different information. It's a review again. I mean, purely a review. But I do want to get to, bear with me, I'm going to go back to the previous course that we were on too. And I am going to show you the try it. So bear with me here as I go to the catalog. I'm going to choose Dynamics AX. After I choose AX, I'll choose 2012. And was it this one that I went into? Bear with me as it loads this one as well. Yeah, so here at this point, if I click on Challengers, you'll see that on the right-hand side there's a Try It. When I click on Try It, it will launch what looks like to be Dynamics AX. And it has flipped it over to my other screen, so let me drag that over here. And you'll see now it's walking me through the steps to create that purchase agreement. Now, one thing I like about this technology is that, first of all, it challenges the student to, to help them retain what they have learned. Because sometimes when you read through a lot of stuff, you don't always retain it, and they have you actually do it. But the feature I really like about it is if you forget how to do something, you can click anywhere on the screen, and it will tell you what to do next. So I don't know how to do this personally. So that's why I clicked on the screen, and then I know that if I click here, it takes me to the next thing. Now, this is not a good way to take a training course because it's just kind of walking me through this and I'm not retaining anything. But assuming I went through the previous chapters that were listed, I would then get to the point of trying it, and I would be able to reinforce what I've learned in the first 4 chapters of this material. So anyway, this is why it's interactive. I mean, it's online, it's interactive, and I do have the audio turned off, so you're not hearing in the audio right now either. But it's a good resource for you. And again, there's no additional charge for this material as long as you're on an active service contract. So other areas I mentioned, talked about in regards to training is we have the learning plans. So there's a learning plan section that you can set up or to review and set up. There's also certifications. We have how-to videos. And then if you wanted to access the user groups, and this would be the dynamic community user groups that aren't part of Microsoft. If any of you have ever gone to a summit or anything like that, those would be the user groups that we point to. So we do have a page showing the AX, UG, GPUG, and so on. So we provide information about those resources as well within the learning section. So, another thing before I do hop over to the community site, I do want to point out underneath downloads, you'll see a lot of different things in here. So we have hot fixes, we have product releases, we have reports, we have service packs. So this is where if you're looking for a service pack to install, this is where you can come and download a service pack. Again, you do have to be logged in. The lock sign in front of everyone that requires you to be logged in. But once you're logged in, you can just click on it and go and, again, looking up in the upper right-hand corner, I'm logged in. So if I click on any of these links, it won't challenge me. It'll just bring me right in, and I'll be able to download the materials. Now, I do strongly recommend that before you install anything on your system, that either you follow up with your partner or you thoroughly read the materials. The updates can cause issues to your system if you don't know what you're doing. Oh yeah, even right here. So I just noticed this in the information. It says, important notice to customers. Make sure you follow up with your partner. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to pop over to my PowerPoint deck quickly, and then I'll go over into the Dynamics community, spend a couple minutes over there, and we will then wrap up with questions. So, Dynamic community. Now, it's somewhat confusing because like GPUG is part of a company called Dynamic Communities, and then we have the Microsoft Dynamics community. So a play on the singular and plural of both Dynamic and communities. But either way, they're both out here to help Dynamic customers get more out of their products and find resources. So the sites that I'm responsible for and how they come together are Dynamics.com, the community, and CustomerSource. All of them have target a specific audience. So Dynamics.com targets the prospect, the customer that's someone interested in Dynamics but doesn't own it yet. Community is a site that we set up for all of our users to get together to provide feedback, answer questions, provide blogs for our customers. And then CustomerSource we walk through is for targeted towards our existing customer who owns the product already. You'll see that within Dynamic communities, you can, as a non-member, you can read blogs, you can read forum questions, you can watch videos, and you can share information. As a member, though, you can do those same things, as well as you can post questions, you can reply to questions. In some cases, we do have some SLAs in regards to answering answering forum questions, and so on. So there's a ton of information out here. And you may be thinking, well, who makes up all this? Well, you, the customer, the partner, are all heavily involved out here, as well as our technical support specialists will be out on the community at times answering forum questions. We also invite guest columnists to come out, and again, we do it to share knowledge. So again, this was a very short PowerPoint, so I'm going to hop over to the website again. And I mentioned you can either access Dynamic communities through CustomerSource, or you can do it through a direct URL. Since we are in CustomerSource right now, I'm going to click on the community link at the top navigation of CustomerSource, and it will take me into the community. Now, it took me to the GP community because when I was in CustomerSource, I had the GP product selected, so it knew that I was interested in GP. So it brought me over here, it took me over, and it's allowing me to come in. Now you can see though, I'm not signed in. So here I can click the sign in button, or I don't have to. I can go view forum questions, I can view blogs, I can view videos. I just can't answer blog or forum questions, or I can't post a forum question without being logged in. So if we want to drill down further, for instance, I mentioned forum questions. So we click on forum questions. It comes up and shows me all the forum questions that have been posted today. So we have roughly about, and this is extremely high for forums, around 80% of our questions get answered. So we're very proud of that high answer rate. Now, though, I can see, like, for instance, some that were just posted today. If you look at the front right before the word GP or the letters GP, you see a question mark that's in the color gray. That means that someone posted the question, but no one has provided an answer to it yet. If you scroll down a little further, you'll see the yellow question mark. It means that someone posted the question, someone has answered it, but it hasn't been verified by the person who posted the question. So we have like 3 different stages of a question, and if it becomes verified, then it will have a green check in front of it saying that not only was the question asked, it was answered, but then the person who asked it verified the question, or verified that the answer was correct. So it's a great source. Also, people who are answering and asking will get different statuses. So within here, we have badges that we have offered to individuals. So you can see that this particular user has a boatload of badges. He's also MVP. So pretty much anything, if Muhammad responds back to my post, I'm probably going to have a lot of faith in his answer because this person has been doing a ton on the community. So as a user, meaning yourself, you can also earn badges, and maybe you want to come out here and start answering questions for other people. As you answer more questions, you can qualify for different badges, and it's a nice way to highlight your knowledge as well as compete with your fellow community users. Within here, I also mentioned too that we have blogs. So we click on blogs, you'll see that in a moment. It'll bring up the blogs that are associated to GP. Right now, all up within the community, there's over 600 different blogs that we host. So if you really want to come out here and learn and read about a ton of blogs that are focused on dynamics, this is your place to come because we try to consolidate them for you so you don't have to crawl the World Wide Web to find them all for you. Other areas too that we have within here are videos. So some of our users, actually many of our users will go out and create videos to show you how to do different activities. Like, this one here, the very top one talks about word templates for Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 tips. So if that's something you always wanted to learn about, you come out here and watch a video. You'll see too on the screen here you can use RSS feeds to subscribe to it. You can also share this. So maybe you found this to be a great item. You can email it to a peer, you can print it, you can put it on Facebook, you can do a lot of different things with it. And then finally we have an area that we call the experts area, which people, it talks about the different badges. Like Muhammad, you saw he had a community moderator. He also had an MVP. I'm not sure if he had the MCC. I didn't notice that off the top of my head, but these are the different badges of the experts. So if you see these badges, these individuals have been on the community a lot and they know their stuff. So they're great resources for you to use as well. So, Kim, I guess with that said, we have 9 minutes left. I definitely can show more, but I'd like to leave enough time for questions. So, Kim, have there been any questions posted, or does anybody have questions?
Yes, so on the right-hand side, let's type in your questions that you'd like to have answers to from Arlin. I was following along with you. I learned some things, even as a past employee, and its updates and everything else is like, wow. Thank you so much, Arlin. That was great. I hope other folks listen to this recording once again and follows along. It's pretty easy. He does it at a great pace, and you can uncover some gems out there. So I don't see any other questions. I will have to say, though, Arlin, is a lot of folks are just not aware, and I think one of the best things you can put on an employee onboarding within an organization out there is to spend an hour or two, just as you did, or even given them this recording. You can go out to our YouTube and do that, but make this part of an onboarding experience for your Dynamics users, because there are a lot of things, and especially when there are so many ways to learn, whether it's asking a question, listening to a video, going out and looking at materials. It really covers it very, very well. So I think that would be a great way to get somebody started in using the Dynamics products. Any other tips, things like, Arlin, you've been to GPUG Summit and all, what are some other common things that people say when they are looking at CustomerSource, other than, wow, there's a lot of information?
Thanks for asking that, because what I'm going to do is pop over to CustomerSource, and this is something I didn't touch on. Well, the one big question I get is, how do I add more users? So if I click on, so now that I'm logged in, I can click on my name, and here it comes up to another drop-down menu. The first one is my profile. That's specific to me. I can update my email address, phone numbers, all that stuff. I can also update my company profile information or review it, as well as view the services and stuff that I have with Dynamics. But if you're an administrator within CustomerSource, in which I am in this particular test customer, I can click on our CustomerSource account. When I do click on that, it brings me to a screen in which, where I can add more users. So you can see there's quite a few users here. If I, let's say, for instance, wanted to edit my particular profile, I could come here as well. Scroll down to the bottom of the screen, there's an edit button, and then I can edit the information underneath here. If I want to add a new user, though, all you have to do, and again, you do have to have the administrator role, which I do. If I click on the administrator, or sorry, if I click on Add New Professional, it will come into the screen and ask me specific questions about who this new user is. So at this point, if I, let's say this new user is in the United States, I choose the United States. Now, one thing that comes up, and it has confused people before, and we're looking at changing it, but is the red print that's on here. Basically, it's saying that because I changed my location, because it was set to nothing, and I changed it to the U.S., it's saying that for these changes to take effect for the new user, they're going to have to close their browser, relaunch it, and then log back into CustomerSource. That's all it's saying. It's not an error message. It's just an alert message. And maybe, I should title it as an alert versus error, because many times people think it is an error. So, but anyway, after that, you just need to, you can fill in everything, or you can fill in the required fields, and the required fields are marked with an asterisk. So let's say if I wanted to add a new user here, I'd type in their first and last name. And then email address. Email address is required, not because we want to send this stuff. Well, I guess we do want to send stuff to you, but not that we want to send promotional materials to you. But how the security works is, as I mentioned earlier, we either use the org ID or the Microsoft account. But the only way we can associate your CustomerSource account to your Microsoft account, or your what used to be called the Windows Live ID or a passport, is to send an email. And the email that we send is an association email. So if I type in, let's say, user at Microsoft.com, I then enter in the phone number. We scroll down, you can fill in the roles, but you'll notice at the bottom it says, well, should this person be an administrator? And if they should, you mark it. And the only difference between an administrator in CustomerSource and a non-administrator is an administrator can add new users, modify users, and delete users. That's the only difference. Other than that, everybody gets to see the same stuff. But one of the most important steps when adding a new user is after you enter in all the required fields, you need to put a check mark in the Send Invitation Email field. After you do that, you hit Save. It's going to send an invitation email to the email address that we specified up here. Once they receive that email, the user needs to open up that email message. They need to click on the link that it's about midway down the page. It talks about associating your accounts together. You click on that, and then it will associate your CustomerSource account to your Microsoft account or to your org ID. After you do that, you go out to CustomerSource.com. You will then be able to log into CustomerSource. So that's some say, well, you made it challenging for us, and we are always looking at ways of improving this experience. But for right now, this is the easiest we have for adding a new user within CustomerSource. I also covered on how many users you can add CustomerSource, and just to restate, you can have as many or as few customers or employees added to CustomerSource as you want. So it's fully up to you, but you do have to add them yourself. Microsoft doesn't add them. Maybe if you talk nicely to Kim, she may help you, but this is really end-user driven, so you need to find out your administrator, who it is, and they can do it. Now, if you don't know who your administrator is, because your company is associated to Kim's company, she can look them up, or I can also look them up. Either way, we can help you, or there's a support email that you can also follow up with Microsoft that can help you find who your administrator is as well. Kim, any other questions or thoughts before we close?
Yep, I did get a question here from Melody. It is, are knowledge base articles available for current versions of GP? Searches by partial contact of an error message, etc., would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, they, and so when I say they, my team doesn't produce the content for knowledge base, but we provide a home for it to be placed in. And the knowledge base team hangs on to their content for a long time. So one of the things, and I'll show you one other trick yet in CustomerSource. So we're in, let me get back to the home page of CustomerSource. So we're in CustomerSource Global right now, and I can see that because it says the word global right here. If you do a search for the symbol asterisk, so I do a search for that and hit enter, it's going to search for all content that is in the global site at this point in time. And I'm doing this because I want to just show you something here. If you notice that the number of knowledge base articles that exist today in knowledge base for Dynamics is somewhere in the neighborhood of 39,000 and change. So now if you want to just see all those particular for knowledge base, if I click on the left-hand navigation, it'll filter it. But here you can then filter off of GP. And then once we filter off of GP, you can see now we're restricted down to just GP-related ones. In this particular one, because knowledge base doesn't tag it with a version number, I can't filter by version on my navigation. But you could also, when you're searching here, you could also then search for a particular term as well as a version number, and it will help bring back results. But yeah, they do, well, you can see here, availability of 2008 year-end tax updates. I mean, so they keep it a long time.
Yeah. Good point. And I do have some chats going on here about 2015 and 2016, and it is not, there are not the 2015 resources that you'd probably like out there. One thing that I do see with users, they go out to that community area to ask questions, and doing searches there, they're able to get more of that updated information. One last thing before I let you go, because we are at the top of the hour, is everybody needs to know about Connect in giving product suggestions and or changes, and this is how Microsoft designs the futures of Dynamics products. Can you just show them where to find that so that we can make sure people are active?
Yeah. Let me get back to the homepage. And Kim, you know, you may be asking me, I haven't, I know Connect's out here because I just did some searching on it the other day. And bear with me here. I believe we have to choose the product.
You have to choose the product, right?
Yep. And oh, I selected, oh, let's choose actually a more mainstream one. Let's choose AX. And do you remember where it is, Kim? I'll have to do some digging.
Yep, let me get there.
Yeah, because I was having a problem with SL yesterday where we had to contact the team, and I found the alias to contact them for the Connect version of it.
Right. Let me look here for you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
Oh, that's all right, Kim. This is, I should know this, right? I've been around it forever.
It's not that, it's always there. So, let me look here.
Well, that's,
I just did a search.
I'm curious. It connects to too broad of a term. Well, what I can do, too, so we don't use up everybody's time, I can get the navigation, take some screenshots, Kim, send it to you.
Okay.
So that way you can show the team and get it. But to Kim's point, it's a great tool for providing feedback for what will go into the next version of the product. So I strongly encourage you to not only, you know, if you think of you have a new idea, you can search for the ideas that have already been published, and then you can go ahead and after you do that, you can then go ahead and if one, let's say you search for an idea, you don't find it, you can then post one as well for yourself.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Certainly do appreciate it. And again, over on the right-hand side, there are the handouts of today's presentation. It's Arlin's deck if you wanted to download that. Otherwise, do get in touch with me, kim.peterson@InterDyn BMI.com, and we'll get those to you as well.